This time on Low Boost, I get a rare opportunity to drive a new X3M. At first glance, this car just looks amazing. BMW did a great job to really distinguish this from a regular X3. It's got the big front bumpers, the grills, the huge wheels, the front fascia. Everything looks great, and I like that these grills are not the gigantic ones you see on some of the bigger models. It still keeps that old school BMW look. Now, one of the things that they did on this car to really enhance its performance is they actually gave this car the S58 engine, which this is the first BMW to come out with the new S58 comparatively to the old S55. It is a variant of the B58, but it has a shorter stroke and it's capable of 7,300 RPM versus 7,000 RPM to improve durability during high sustained RPM operation. It does have twin turbochargers comparatively to the single turbo, and it produces a lot more power. It is the most powerful inline six BMW has ever made. It's also the strongest inline six, utilizing a forged crank connecting rods and pistons. Produces a whopping 473 horsepower, 503 horsepower in the competition model, and 442 pound-feet of torque all the way down at 2,600 RPM. Even though this thing weighs 4,500 pounds, it still does the quarter mile in 11.6 seconds at 119 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds.
Now, I'm not sure if you're keeping score, but that's faster than a Trackhawk.
Here's the kicker that I noticed driving it around. Even though it comes from the factory with 500 horsepower, it does have a little bit of lag when you get into it, but I'm actually not upset with this. This just means that on these stock turbos, there's probably a lot more in them to go comparatively from the stock amount of boost, which is like 17 PSI. So these are going to be able to be turned up a lot with the stock turbos and make a lot of power in every car that it's going to be in.
Alright, so here's the deal. While I really wanted to do a video on the X3M, the really big thing I wanted to feel was the difference with the turbos of the S58 engine. Now currently the S55 in the M3 and in the M4 with full bolt-ons and E85 is making around 550 horsepower to the tire, maybe a little bit more on those stock turbos. But upgrading the turbos and doing all other modifications with that engine, you're really not going to see the reliability that you normally would on an engine that has forged internals or a bigger turbo from the factory. So this S58 engine does have completely forged internals, and I really think, based on the lag that I felt in the car, the turbos are bigger. And I think we're gonna see, and you guys can quote me on this and remember this, I think we're gonna see 700 to 800 horsepower to the tire on these stock turbos in the S58. That is really gonna be a game changer when you're talking about performance aftermarket comparatively to what we're seeing with the Audi RS3, some of the Mercedes AMGs, even the other V8 based cars that it competes against. This car is really going to set a new standard for BMW performance going forward. Also, in addition to the performance of the engine, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen when they come out with their all-wheel drive model, M car. What we're seeing, the biggest thorn in the side for these BMW M cars has always been its ability to come out of the hole. They're really set up for tracks and road racing, which is great, but it just can't launch like some of the other cars that it competes with. The new M cars are going to have all-wheel drive and an automatic transmission. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with them. Even with the M340i, which has the revised B58, those cars are running low 12s at high 115, 118 mile per hour trap speeds stock, and just with minimal mods are getting into the low 11s and high 10s. So if you take that and you look at what's going to happen with the S58, It's really going to be remarkable to see what these things can do. I'm really excited to see that.
The new interior that is in this car is fantastic. These seats are heated, air conditioned, and vented.
The newer models now have a completely digital dashboard, whereas some of the 17s and 18s are partial, digital dashboard, this is just freaking awesome. You also have completely customizable M modes. So you can configure the M1 button to do multiple options. I mean, you can even have the transmission shift even more aggressively, less aggressively, down to your suspension. You can even change how your heads-up display looks. Unchanged, standard, M view, all this stuff.
And it's not just one way or the other either. You can have the steering be super strong and stiff while the suspension be extremely light and comfortable. It's all adjustable.
I'm gonna be straight up with you guys though. Even on the most comfortable setting, this car is extremely stiff. Not everybody's gonna like that.
I still can't figure out the sorcery on how they can have cameras over the top of your car like that. But with a camera view like that, it makes any car easy to park. This thing could even be a bus and it'd be simple.
Dual cup holders in the front, and they now have wireless charging as well, if your phone is capable of that. However, my phone always has a case on it, which never is making it compatible for wireless charging, but if you like the ones that don't like to run a case, it's good for it.
This also has the accent lighting as well, so you can choose up to 10 different colors and combinations that you want the accent lighting to be inside the car. I personally like blue, but to each their own. And you could say this is a gimmick, or you could say that it's weird, but yeah, it has hand gestures. You can raise, lower the volume, change channels, answer phone calls just from hand gestures. It's crazy.
Now mind you, this is an SUV, but still does 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.3 seconds, and the quarter mile in 11.6 at 119 miles an hour. So this is like the equivalent of having a great family car to take your kids and all their gear to school, but the only way to get there is to go around the Nürburgring twice. As soon as I can get my hands on a new M3 or M4, I'm gonna let you guys see it and let you guys know what I think about it, and I'd like to really see a real world comparison between the new M3s and the older M3s. So make sure you guys stay tuned and stay up to date on that. If you're into cars, or really any kind of car, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I upload a video every week about cars, whether it's doing a review on a vehicle like I'm doing now, or I have a BMW E36 Turbo LS swap. I got a C5 Corvette that's a track car. I also got a 1966 Ford Mustang that I'm restoring, and a bunch of other stuff on the channel. So if you guys are into that stuff, consider subscribing. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.